Hi everyone and welcome to my Season 26 leveling guide. I want to give you everything you need to have a smooth start into the season and to get to 70 the fastest and most efficient way possible. This is nothing really new, so if you are a veteran player, this might just be more of a refresher for you, but it might still help you get going and jump right in. So when your season starts on Friday, the first thing you want to do is create your character. So in my case, this would be a barb. And you want to do the challenge rift. So make sure you do not complete this challenge rift before Friday on the season start, because else you'll not be able to claim the materials. You get to this challenge rift reward cache that gives you crafting materials, death breath, blood shards, and all this is really important to speed up the process in leveling. So make sure you don't do it before Friday, and also don't do it if you're not 100% sure that the season has started. So the safest way to do it is simply create your seasonal character first, and this will make sure that you can claim it in this season. We already have the challenge rift guide up here on Maxwell if you want to check it out. So this is always updated weekly by Facefoot and Rax. So he always has his video every single week, including this one, so you can go check it out. Next up, you want to log in and you want to start crafting a few weapons. So first of all, you open the cache, you get your materials, and then you upgrade the Blacksmith. And usually you have like a few like low-level weapons that you can just like craft right away. For example, here at level 5, you have an axe, and the next one is level 17. And you can fill the gap, for example, with a dagger, which is level 10. So you can kind of like, prepare a few items that you can just equip on the way. And then maybe you want to go for like some two-handed axes at some later point, just to have like a good weapon ready already, so that you can just equip at any point when you level up a few times. This is the most important piece in your arsenal, and you should make sure you always have a nice weapon. Next up is crafting a reduced level requirement weapon. So here you go for a level 70 item, usually like a two-handed axe or something, or in case of Demon Hunter, it would be like a bow or a crossbow. And you try to get one that has reduced level requirement. Here, in fact, we actually just rolled one naturally with minus 21. It goes all the way to 30. So that was a very lucky outcome here. But what you are looking for is something that has crowd control. Like here, you see this stun on hit. Or even better, something that has crowd control and life per hit. Because with this, you block most of the secondary stats that you can roll, and it will be very easy to roll reduced level requirement. It's not 100% guaranteed you're gonna get a good result here, but almost every time you can get something at least that gives you a nice power spike somewhere in those like level 40 to 50 range, where you can just like blast on Torment 6 all the way to like 60, 65 or so. And this weapon is going to be 10 times better than anything else you're going to have. Here I actually got a near perfect result. So this is the one I mentioned with life per hit and freeze on it. And you see that because of this freeze, you have way fewer options that you can roll here. And the life per hit also blocks life per kill. And like this, you can just roll the other secondary stat here, and you'll very likely get reduced level requirements. So you can try to roll this a few times, and we actually rolled a minus 30 here. If you feel like you're gonna run out of materials or gold, then you might have to swap which weapon you are rolling on. Next up, you go and grab your follower's weapon, and you also hire the follower in case you're solo, because this weapon is always way stronger than whatever you're gonna start with, and you can also trade your weapon back to him. And then you also want to check the vendors. So this is something you're going to do continuously while leveling. Literally after every single run, every time you go new game or something like this, you go and check the vendors. You just buy whatever looks good on first glance, and don't really waste too much time with this. Just try to get some continuous upgrades, because usually you don't really find a lot of items that are really good, and this helps you out. And then you go to Ruins of Zasharon here in Act 3. This is where the cube is located, and you want to get the cube, you want to start upgrading a weapon there, so they can get legendary power going that might speed up the leveling process a lot. And usually on the way there, you want to try to make like a big massacre streak. So this is the same strategy for all classes. You just try to chain those kills, and after 15 kills or more, you're gonna start getting massacres. And this vastly boosts your experience gain. It multiplies the XP value, and this is one of the main ways to level as a solo player with Massacre Bonuses. So on your way there, you don't really want to waste time fighting elites or anything. You just want to kind of like get it going, maybe kite him around a little bit like this, and just try to get what you can while you're going to the cube. I would recommend doing this on hard difficulty. This gives you a little bit more rewards than normal difficulty. If you're a necromancer, you can also do it on master, but for the other classes, I would not recommend going higher. One thing that's important is when you're returning to town and you have all your crafted items that you want to equip at a later point in your inventory, you have to be careful to not auto-salvage them. So what you can do is you can go to Miriam and you can just transmog them, and if they are changed in any way, they will not be auto-salvaged, so you can still use that feature on the Blacksmith. But this only works on PC. After you've gotten the Kanai's Cube, which is located in the Elder Sanctum behind the Ruins of Sescheron, you will be able to craft and upgrade a level 70 weapon to try to get a big multiplier for your class. So typically this is a weapon, and here in our level 1 gambling and cubing guide, we have a quick overview if you want to go check it out. So in the case of Barbarians, this would be either one of the 2 spears. This is a 100% guaranteed multiplier you can get here, or you can go with a 2-handed mighty weapon. And then for a Crusader, you have the option to go one-handed or two-handed flails. On a Demon Hunter, you have the daggers, which is also 100% guaranteed something. Then you have the Daibos on the Monk. You have the two-handed scythes on a Necromancer, which is across the board really good. Witch Doctor actually has an interesting novelty here with having a 100% guaranteed really good outcome with the Skirmisher. So there used to be the option to go for spears for 50-50 with Imperial Messenger and Skirmisher. And this actually has changed, and Imperial Messenger is a legacy item now, so that was a stealth change in Season 26. And now you get this one guaranteed, which is actually massive. So Witch Doctors are probably the best, like on average class to level now, or somewhere on the level of Necro at least. And finally, Wizards will upgrade once. So you take one of these weapons. In my case, I would go with a two-handed mighty weapon. You craft one of the level 70 versions, and you go to the cube and see what you get. So in my case, I got pretty much the worst case scenario, a Maddox Sorrow, which does nothing. So this is very unlucky because Barbarian actually has 4 out of 6 pretty good results, but this is how it be. And then you also want to go to Kadala and gamble. So again, we have all the possible options listed here for all the classes in the same post. So in the case of a Barbarian, you usually want to gamble braces or maybe a ring. What works for all classes is also the Pox Folds. This is the only pair of pants for all classes that you can get at level 1. So this is usually something that gives you a nice little head start and makes keeping Massacre bonuses quite easy because of this dot effect that constantly refreshes the timer. This can be quite useful, especially when you completely whiffed your upgrade and you have low chances of getting something else. In some cases, you also want to decide maybe to gamble at a later point, depending on the weapon you upgraded. So this is, for example, the case here with Demon Hunters, where you can try to get a combo between Kale's Point and the Holy Point Shot Quiver that you can get at level 31. So I would recommend to you to go take a look at this before the season start. If you want, you can also take a look at the Kadala gamble calculator that we have here. So you can see which items you can gamble at various levels. And here, this also might give you an idea of something else you want to try for. You will have enough blood shots for 19 items, which very likely gives you a legendary. So I think it's 86% chance. So if there's only one item in the slot, then you're almost guaranteed to get it. In my case, I also got unlucky on the gamble as well. So we have this big minus 30 weapon, but we don't have anything from the upgrade and we don't have anything from the gamble. So this is actually extremely unlucky. And now finally comes the time to start blasting. So my preferred strategy as a solo player especially is to go Temple of the Firstborn. So this is the Massacre strategy. The idea here is that you roam through the zone and try to gather these bugs here, especially because they die very easily and you can do really big Massacre bonuses. I actually made a lot of videos, I uploaded a lot of leveling practice runs where I was doing exactly this here in the Temple of the Firstborn for all classes with various setups. I even have a whole playlist for this. So if you want to take a look at this, then just go check it out. I will link it. This is typically the best way to do it, but only if you are pretty decent at actually keeping those Massacre bonuses. So this also depends a bit on the exact build and the exact class you're going to play. So some classes have it way easier, like Witch Doctors, for example, is by far the easiest with Massacre bonuses because of dots and because Horn just goes everywhere. And Demon Hunter, for example, also has it quite easy because you're ranged. But something like Barbarian has it a bit rough, at least until a later point when you get things like Weapon Throw. I also made a dedicated video talking about the exact strategy that I employ, how to navigate, how to keep those Massacre bonuses up. and you might also want to check that out. Number 2 strategy is Halls of Agony level 1, the cleavers. So this is something that you would do on Torment 6, at least on softcore, and this is pretty much only a softcore strategy. So the idea is that you go on high difficulty and you don't actually finish any enemies yourself, but instead use the environmental effects to kill the enemies for you, and like this you get massive XP. So this is usually something used when you have an absolutely unlucky start. So in the case of this Barbarian right now, where I got nothing, this would actually be a pretty good idea, but it does require a bit of practice because it's kind of tough to survive. And again, do not try this on hardcore. This is also a pretty solid strategy when you're leveling in a group and you don't really have any super strong characters in a group, like a Necromancer that can just carry everyone. So you might want to try this strategy with your party if you are up to it, but you should probably practice this once or twice first, because if you do this for the first time, then you will learn a lot of things that will make it much faster the next time. So this is what they look like. They are always located at the exit to level 2. So theoretically you can also send someone into level 2 and try to find the way backwards from there, so that you might have it right away if you're in a party. And then you just like try to kite these enemies through those cleavers. As you can see, they just get one shot. So this stays kind of similar on higher Torment difficulties. Right now I'm on a low level, I didn't change it now. But the idea is that you go here in Torment 6, you get massive XP, and these things get one clapped here, and you just try to kite around. So try to use slows, try to use stunts, and be careful about which elites you pull. And then you just like, gather the enemies that are like nearby. So you would go a little bit up here. You can use these zombie pits that spit out some extra guys and get those in here. And then you just kite a few more enemies from all directions that you can and go in your game. The third strategy is the cursed chests. So this is typically more of a group strategy, but the idea is you go to cursed chest bounties, like this one here in Act 1. I do have a full list of this here on the Discord if you wanna go and check that out, together with all the planners as well for all the builds here. So this might give you like a little pointer of where they are and the names that you want to look for. But the idea is that you go here on a rather high difficulty, like Torment 3 plus or so, and you go and just do this cursed chest event that spawns a lot of monsters. So it's quite simple, and you just complete the bounty and go in a new game as well. This is the best in groups because you can split up in different games, and everyone just creates their own game and then invites everyone else if you found one. And sometimes it can take like a 1 or 2 resets from everyone to do that, but it's obviously way faster when you have multiple people trying to get one of these bounties. So you just go there, complete the thing, and repeat. This is especially a good strategy when you're doing a very necro-heavy group, like if you're planning to start with a Rats party. Then you have 3 Necromancers, you have Corpse Explosion, and you just blast through those cursed chest events like nothing. So this is usually the way to go for those groups. And finally, the last option is to simply run Nephalem Rifts. So this is usually by far the worst strategy, because you don't really have any bonuses like the extra XP from massacres or those extra monsters that spawn from cursed chests and the bounties and the experience you gain there. But if you're looking for some very laid back leveling experience, then this is the way to go, but it will be probably taking twice the amount of time or so that you could otherwise do with one of the other strategies. So good runs, like solo leveling with massacres on like a good RNG outcome is something like an hour or so, or even less, like 50 minutes, are definitely like, top end, at least hardcore runs. Softcore probably slightly faster. And you can also achieve something like a 1 hour time with Halls of Agony, for example. And even faster with cursed chests in groups. Something like 45 minutes is quite doable when you get a bit lucky. And Rifts, on the other hand, is very hard to do below like 1.5 hours, even in like a really good scenario where you get a strong multiplier, you have a nice level reduction weapon, and maybe even get some drops on the way. In Rifts you have a higher chance of getting legendary items, so this is kind of like the fun part of it that makes it more enjoyable because of more loot, but it is definitely way slower. Finally, once you made it to level 70, you want to start working on the Haedrig's Gift as fast as possible. So here I made the Haedrig's Gift GR20 guide and give a bit of a pointer of what you can use on each of the classes to get your GR20 done, because this is the most difficult step in the whole process. There are a few other small steps, like you have to do 1 act of bounties, and you have to do stuff like equip a follower and roll a socket on a weapon and these kind of things. But GR20 is the hard part there. And here you can see some very generic basic setups with each of the 4-piece sets, or just, whatever works. So in some cases you actually want to go for LOD, like on the Wizard, where DMO doesn't really help you until you get this full set. So once you're level 70, you want to work on those objectives right away to get your free set. So for everyone, but maybe the Necromancers, this is definitely a huge bonus. And even for Necromancers, it's kind of usable with Pestilence. And once you have your Haedrig's Gift, you are set up for the season. Then you can start blasting usually at least something like Torment 10 already, where you have a decent amount of drops, you get a decent amount of blood shards, and you can try to get whatever other set you want to play and get your main setup going. If you want to take a closer look at the season journey, you can also check out this guide by Facebook here that has all the steps listed for you so that you know exactly what you have to do if you want to prepare for the season journey. And this also concludes the guide, so I wish you good luck in season 26. Personally, I'm very much looking forward to it. I want to try out this new Rega Barb, I want to try out the new GR changes, the new Agony Nightmare, and I think it's going to be a pretty cool season. As I've mentioned, I have my playlist of leveling practice runs for all classes, so feel free to check those out. And otherwise, take a look at the other guides here that I have shown with the leveling guide, Haedrig's Gift, Challenge Rift, everything that you need is here on Maxwell, including all the build guides for season 26, tier lists, and explanations for the new Agony Nightmare as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more D3 content, and I'll see you guys next time.